remember that no matter what your views are, your beliefs are, what side you're on, if you're pro, if you're anti anything, that when you're debating other people or you're getting really frustrated with other people, try to remember that most likely you both want the same thing. You're just going about it in different ways. And they just happen to be very polarizing, opposite ways of getting to the same goal. Because I'm pretty sure that most people want love. They want to be loved and they want to love others. They want to be free. They want unity. They want peace. So find a way to... Hello, beautiful beings of light. My name is Monica. Today's video is titled, Please Stop Feeding the Matrix with Polarity. So I got inspired to do this video today because of a conversation I had with a friend. They had commented on something I had posted on my Instagram story regarding COVID and the news and stuff like that. And I think what I wrote on there was something like, mainstream media is a virus, fear is a virus, so I unsubscribed from both. And they responded about how they related and they thought it was funny. And then we were both talking about how we have been getting very frustrated with people who are still asleep and who are very brainwashed still by the media and about the propaganda and the corruption and all of the things that are going on in the world. And as we were talking, I had said, I agree with you, which I do. It does get very, very frustrating sometimes to talk to people who can't hear you because they're just not at the same frequency. They're not at the same consciousness level that you may be at the moment. And I say that not meaning that if you're more conscious and awake that you're better than anybody else. I don't mean it like that. It's just a different state that you're in, and it doesn't always vibe with other people, and that can make it difficult on both ends. When it's really frustrating when you feel like you're not being seen or heard or understood from your perspective. And I had said that I still have to remind myself to have that love and have that compassion and that empathy for other people who are very much stuck in the matrix. They're stuck in the illusion. They're stuck in the fear. And I also realize that this doesn't just pertain to people who are still asleep. This also, I think, so it's just my opinion, take it or leave it, it also applies to a lot of people who are awake. And I was in this for a long time too, last year especially. I was caught up in the fear of having to wear, being mandated to wear a mask and potentially being mandated to get the V. And I think most people by now knows what that stands for on social media. We've been saying the V for the jab so that we don't get censored or have our posts taken down or our videos deleted. So I'll just refer to it as the V. And how I was afraid that was going to be mandated for travel or for going to certain buildings or events, and that it may get to a point where I won't be able to get food if I don't get it, where you're just basically pushed so far to, like how they try to make it seem like it's your choice, but they're really not giving you much of a choice by taking away your basic rights, freedoms, and certain incentives. And unfortunately, a lot of these conspiracy theories ended up coming true, and we see it happening now. We can see the agenda that's in play. And for a lot of people who are awake, that is absolutely terrifying because of the fear of the unknown of what's going to happen. There's a lot of other theories that haven't come true. There's a lot of theories that are still being predicted right now on the worst case scenario or the worst timeline for the world. And a lot of people who are awake are feeding into this fear. And when you feed into the fear, you're still feeding the matrix. You're still feeding the illusion. You're still creating the reality that the elites, the Illuminati, the people at the top who are running the world, the 1% of the 1%, you are still feeding into the illusion that they want to create and that they are creating through propaganda, through mainstream media. Having people believe every word that they say, like gospel, and regurgitating it, and then with the people who are trying to mandate everybody else's lives according to their beliefs that they've heard on the news. So I understand it's a very difficult time, it's stressful, it can be scary. But no matter what, I choose not to feed into the fear of either side. We got a lot of people who are afraid of the V, whether it be that they're afraid of getting it or they're afraid of not getting it. And that's the polarity, the extreme opposite ends of the spectrum. So again, whether people are awake or asleep, they can still be feeding the matrix illusion from either end. It doesn't matter what side that you're on or where you lean towards or what your beliefs are. If you're living in fear, if you're projecting fear, if you're trying to control other people's lives, whether you're saying they definitely have to get the V or they definitely should not get the V because of blah, 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 you're still feeding it. So I have had to become very conscious of when I have been doing that, and to kind of look at it from a higher perspective, like get out of the 3D physicalness of it all. And the way I see it is that a lot of people, if not pretty much everyone, except for the really corrupt people and the dark agendas, really want the same thing in the end. And I realized this after talking to some family members who kept asking my husband and I why we don't wear masks. We were pretty fortunate to be in a lot of really small towns that didn't require them, or other people just wouldn't wear them even if there weren't signs. So I got pretty comfortable with not wearing it. And so yeah, of course, given a choice, especially, I would definitely not wear a mask for lots of reasons. And I realized during that conversation that the reason they were giving for wearing one was, of course, not, of course, because they thought, it would protect them from, all this stuff, but also because they believed that if they complied with the government mandates, that it would give them their freedoms back that much sooner. They would be able to get out of lockdown and isolation and go do things and not wear the mask eventually. And then for me and my husband, and for a lot of my closest friends in my community, I'm so fortunate to have, who understand me, and we agree on a lot of the same things. We believe that by complying and wearing the mask, which, one, we don't believe is necessary by any means, and two, that it actually gives away our freedoms voluntarily. And if they can take away your right to breathe fresh air, they can pretty much take away your right for anything, as long as the majority keeps complying, even when it doesn't make sense.
We should stop saying this is the new normal. That's just blatant mind control drivel. There's nothing normal about forced isolation, treating your neighbor like they have the plague, breathing your own bodily waste, wearing masks, living in constant fear of contamination. That's normal. I mean, after all, if the virus is so deadly, why hasn't it wiped out the homeless who don't social distance, wash themselves regularly, let alone, live in or have access to a sterile environment? Last year, 1.5 million people died of tuberculosis. Why were you not wearing a mask during the tuberculosis pandemic? You were endangering, public health and safety, along with billions of other people around the globe. So why didn't you wear a mask? I'll tell you why. Because the mainstream media didn't tell you to wear a mask. Right? And so because though 1.5 million people died from tuberculosis, there was no tuberculosis pandemic any more than there's a coronavirus pandemic. You should ask yourself a couple basic questions. When did you consent from, you creating a government to serve you to you serving the government ruling over you?
So in the end, we both sides just really wanted freedom to go back to the way life was, at least to the point of being able to go out and about and live your life and go do fun things and to not have to live in fear anymore. And that's one of the major things I wanted to relay in this video, was just remember that no matter what your views are, your beliefs are, what side you're on, if you're pro, if you're anti anything, that when you're debating other people or you're getting really frustrated with other people, try to remember that most likely you both want the same thing. You're just going about it in different ways. And they just happen to be very polarizing, opposite ways of getting to the same goal. Because I'm pretty sure that most people want love. They want to be loved and they want to love others. They want to be free. They want unity. They want peace. They don't want this division and this separation and this fear and this anxiety of just living their everyday life. But unfortunately, that has been the world that we have created and co-created together for the most part, because we have given into the fear and we get so much into our egos about I'm right and they're wrong, no matter what side that you're on. And that's why it's important to come back to that space of love and compassion and empathy. Because fighting and arguing and fighting fire with fire and both sides just getting really pissed off at each other is not going to help anything. And I think more people are open to listening to your side or to another side that's different from theirs if it's coming from a place of unconditional love. If your intention is, I love you and I just want to share what I think is going to be best for me and for you and for, the majority, even if you don't agree, I just want to express how I'm feeling. I just want to speak my truth, even if you don't agree. And I know it's frustrating when people don't understand your view or you feel like you're not being seen or heard. But I suggest not spending so much time on people like friends or family around you if they're not open to what you have to say. And it just leads to an argument and both sides getting really, really angry. Maybe it's best to just not approach those subjects at all. Just avoid them. Keep those topics just out of your conversation. And really spend more time on people who are open and receptive to what you have to say if they seem interested. But either way, on either side, I don't recommend pushing your beliefs on people. I think all of us have the right to choose what we think is best for ourselves. I think that we all have free will and should definitely exercise it, and no one should oppose their beliefs on anyone else if they don't agree or they don't want it. Like, I'm not going to tell people to get the V, and I'm not going to tell people not to get the V, because it's their choice. If they want to ask me why I'm not getting it, I'd be happy to share, but I'm not going to say you shouldn't get it or you should get it, because ultimately it's their body, their choice, my body, my choice, what I put into it or don't put into it. The way that I approach this, the way that I approach a lot of things in life, especially if I notice I'm starting to have fear around something that I feel is out of my control, is I just have a plan. And then I have a backup plan if I can. And if worst comes to worst, the plan fails, the backup plan fails, then I'll have to deal with it at that moment. I'll have to make a choice. Like right now, I don't plan on getting the V. I know shit could hit the fan and I could feel really obligated to. And I'll have to make a decision then, depending on what the circumstances are. And then, let's say worst case, I am held to the ground against my will, and the V's forced into me, then my backup plan is to do like cleansing with like raw food and lots of juices to try to detox the heavy metals. That's worst case. But I feel better when I have some sort of idea of what I could do if I do start thinking of the worst case scenarios that most likely will never come true. But it's nice to kind of have that, like, at least I've made some kind of plan. And then after that, I let it go. I let go of the fear of all of it, because there's nothing I can do at this moment. And fortunately, there's nothing like that happening to me right now in this moment. So then I focus on the gratitude of not being in that situation right now, every day that I'm not in it. And I focus on being grateful for the freedoms that I still have. And I'm grateful for all of the people that are waking up. Okay? It was not that long ago myself that I was asleep and I was a sheep. And I was just kind of going with the flow of what the majority was going with. I wasn't necessarily like listening or watching the news or anything like that. Like I wasn't subscribing to it. I wasn't following science. I wasn't doing any of that stuff, but I definitely wasn't critically thinking for myself. I was naive and I thought everybody else had my best interest in mind, like the government and doctors, and I just trusted too much of my health and my wellness and my life, my personal life, my choices to outside people who may not always have my best interest in mind. But also, even if they do, I still don't have to agree with them. I can still go with make my own decisions, do my own research, use my own intuition, and it works for me. And also, I find kind of a beauty to everyone's journey. Even if I think that maybe they're doing the wrong thing, or maybe not what's best for them or others or the planet, I still appreciate the journey of everyone, because I know that we're all a whole. I know that we're all one. We're all just pieces of the puzzle, all unique pieces. We're not separate, even though the illusion has us believing that we're separate. And that I, again, was brainwashed not that long ago. I was a sheep. And I know in some ways I still have a lot of programming just like everybody else. I try to stay open-minded to other ideas. I don't judge anything as crazy or too far out there, because I don't believe I'm right about everything or I know the truth about everything. But I do go with my gut feeling of what I feel to be true and right for me right now in this moment. And it could change tomorrow. It could change in the next couple hours. You know, I'm always willing to shift and change my beliefs accordingly when it feels right to do so, when new information is received that I resonate with. But I believe in reincarnation. I think we've had many lifetimes here, maybe on this planet, maybe on other planets, and that everyone's unique journey is just so beautiful no matter where they're at. I've learned how to love people no matter where they're at in their journey, because we were all there. No matter what stage you are right now, no matter where you are on your journey, we were all there at some point. So remember that and have that compassion and empathy and respect people's choice to exercise their free will, even if it doesn't agree with your beliefs. And the last thing I want to say is just that I'm actually pretty excited to see where things are going to go. Even though it looks really dark and bleak in a lot of ways, I still see a lot of people waking up. I see a lot of people calling out the bullshit. I see a lot of people who are questioning things. Even if they don't know what the Matrix is, or if they don't quite, they're not quite at the level of seeing the truth. The truth is subjective, is what you believe, but something other than what they're being told. It's a great thing, the fact that they're questioning and they're not just accepting everything at face value. And the dark forces are terrified right now. That's why they are pushing the agendas harder than ever They are pushing because they are scared. They are losing their power, the power that they've had for way too long. And they're doing absolutely everything they can to suppress people from awakening, to suppress information and censor it, to keep people asleep, to keep them in fear and division and polarity. And yes, we do see evidence of that working. But I also see a lot of evidence that it's not working anymore. I believe that light will always win, and it's already winning, and a lot of dark things are coming to light, and it's being exposed, and it's shaking things up, and it seems chaotic, but it has to happen. Like, we have to break down, to break open, to break through the illusion. So every time I see the most ridiculous articles, or I'll hear the most absurd things that don't make any sense, that with the agendas that they're pushing, I just laugh. I just keep my sense of humor because I can see it, and I know a lot of other people see it, and I'm just so grateful for having some really close friends and this like tight-knit community of people who really are awake and are on similar vibrations and levels of consciousness as me, and that we learn from each other, and we can talk and not get upset or like angry in like heated debates. And I'm even grateful for friends and family that aren't awakened or on a different level of consciousness, who are at least accepting of me for who I am. Like, I've heard a lot of people online saying that their parents won't talk to them because they didn't get the V, and they won't get it. And they won't talk to them until they get it. That to me is just too extreme. And that feels like a form of punishment, which I don't agree with. I don't agree with punishing people for having different beliefs. And the last thing I want to say is, like I mentioned before, I understand that people who are awakened to the BS that's going on with the propaganda and everything, I understand the fear of people who aren't awakened, who are pushing the fear, or who are pushing the agenda as well. They're like mouthpieces for the media, because that can make us fearful of the timeline that we're on, and that we start to become fearful of our safety, of our freedom and our bodies, and whatever else could be taken away, or whatever other freedoms they can impede on. But my advice would be, instead of really sinking into that fear of what could happen, maybe potentially one day, what if, focus on the timeline that you want. As I said before, I have a plan and I have a backup plan, and then I just let it go because there's nothing I can do at this point, and there's nothing that's happening. So once you've done that, the next step, I would say, is to focus on what you actually want. Manifest that timeline. If enough people do it, it's going to have a lot of power behind it. So I don't know about everybody else, but I'm not focused on the fear of what could happen. I'm focused on the love and joy of what I want to happen. Because focusing on the fear at least doesn't seem like it's beneficial in any way whatsoever. And when you focus on what you want and the gratitude of what you have, you are already automatically raising the frequency of the planet. And that helps tremendously. Sitting in fear, consuming all the, the conspiracy theories and all the anger that people have, and what could happen and what is happening, even if it's not happening to you, I feel like is just not doing you or anyone else much good. And I used to do that. I did it for a long time, until I finally made a decision to say, you know what? This isn't helping anyone. This isn't helping me. This isn't raising my frequency of the planet. So instead of focusing on the negative, because you don't even have to watch mainstream news to get all of the information of the negative things that are going on. There's other alternative sources for that. I used to deep dive in that too much for too long, and I would start to feel kind of depressed. So then I started focusing on, okay, well, what can I do to help? And I started making videos again because there, for a while there, getting so consumed in the darkness was taking away from my light work of teaching. So when I would hear the dark things, it just motivated me more to start teaching and to start doing my light work and do the things that I do and just spread love and awareness to people as much as possible, and to take care of myself so that I could help others. And in my opinion, that's one of the best things that anyone could do right now during these times. And also, I would say it's not a bad thing to expose these negative things at all. But if you're going to constantly consume them, I would say one of the other things that you could do is start sharing what you know. Make a YouTube channel. Make a blog. Make social media platforms. You don't even have to show your face or use your real name. You can just do your research and share your findings to help awaken others, to help shed light on that darkness, to bring awareness. I think that's a great use of energy and time, because your voice is powerful and it needs to be heard. Whatever you have to say, whatever you're passionate about, whatever you're interested in, even if it's not all love and light, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, that's okay. But I also think it would be best to bring those elements in as well. Like, I finally have started to post about darker agendas on my Instagram stories, but I still try to keep like 90% of it pretty love and light and inspirational and helpful, instead of just doom and gloom all day long, because otherwise then I'm just another mainstream media news source if I do that. So anyways, that is my video for today. Hopefully that helped bring you some kind of, I don't know, peace or clarity or support in some kind of way. Again, no matter what side you're on, it doesn't matter. I still love you. I still love everyone. You know, I don't have any hate in my heart for anyone who disagrees with me, or who's living in fear, or who's in a different journey, or a different level of consciousness. We're still one. Okay, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.